With the tier 3 update dropping this Thursday, we're getting 54 new armor pieces. This will come with 7 new set effects and all that armor to go with it. I'll also cover where they're actually coming from, the no set pieces along with the cloaks. All of which again is tier 3, so in order to upgrade you're going to need these like noble growthstones. You should have enough of the other materials like ores and powder, but these polished crystals you're going to have to work to get by doing all your different activities like these events, weekly missions, co-op dungeons, etc. So first of all, we'll have a quick look at those gear sets. This Steel Wall Guardian set. Everything is displayed at max level 12, and the set itself is going to be 2500 max health at 2 piece, and 200 melee and ranged endurance, along with 0.6% heavy attack damage resistance per 1000 max health at the 4-piece set. And yes, you read that correct, it's basically a new stat that they're adding, allowing you to increase your heavy attack damage beyond 100%, meaning you deal more than double damage, but also have the ability to reduce heavy attack damage. They're just going to directly counter each other. So if I have 100% heavy damage resistance and my opponent has 100% heavy attack damage, they would deal no extra damage on a heavy attack. So if I have 50,000 max health, this is going to give me 30% heavy damage attack resistance. So a pretty good set for survivability, and you can see it's actually fairly accessible. All pieces will come from the new 4-star co-op dungeons, with the possibility to get them from the trials as well, and a slim chance to get from Nebula. But we'll then look at the next set, the Forgotten Monarchs. This gives us the benefit, heavy attack increased by 30 per 10 strength. So if you had like 80 strength, that's 240 heavy attack. Not the worst, but then the 4-piece is on heavy attack, you will increase heavy attack damage by 25% for 3 seconds. This is the big one. That's kind of crazy. Again, with the new stats, you can increase that damage. So every single heavy attack, rather than dealing 100% more damage, would deal 125% more damage. So instead of like 10,000 times 2, it's going to be 10,000 plus 12,500. However, the set's pretty inaccessible, mainly coming from field bosses, with one only from Nebula. You can see here, for example, this piece would come from Aragon, and this one from Leviathan and Pacilo. So these will be very expensive to start. And you can see this particular armor piece is very good, with also an extra 5.2% heavy attack damage. Then we go to the next set, Demon Beast Hunter. This one's actually pretty accessible. Again, all from co-op dungeons and Nebula. Its benefit is 7% attack speed and 7% cooldown at just 2 pieces. If you get 4 pieces, you can get 20 bonus damage, and on hit, a 15% chance to increase that bonus damage by 7 for 3 seconds, stacking 5 times, so 35. So this is very good for crossbow damage dealers in PvP. However, just that 2-piece set alone looks pretty useful for a lot of classes who are currently running a 2-piece and then maybe 2-piece of something else like 2-piece crit damage. We'll see if there's something later that is like that. Otherwise, you're looking at stats, cooldown, heavy attack speed, nothing major here. Nice spread of attributes, all giving 11 total. And again, a very accessible set. Then we go to the Blood Knight set here. The 2-piece is simply plus 250 critical hit chance, with the 4-piece then giving 15% critical damage, and on a critical hit you can increase that by plus 1.5% for 3 seconds, stacking 10 times. So this is in total a 30% critical damage set, which is better than any tier 2 set. However, you need to have 4 pieces for that, so you're giving up whatever other set you could use for 2 pieces. On top of that, this set is not accessible, coming from those tier 2 field bosses, and this one especially only from Nebula. It does have a unique chest piece with range bonus, and even the arms having another range bonus. But yeah, you're not getting this one anytime soon, coming from Aragon, Leviathan, Pacilo, Akman, Daigon, Pakalo, Leviathan, and these ones only from Nebula. But now we go to the Lightning Strike set here. You're going to get the bonus of plus 150 evasion, and then when hit, you have a 20% chance to increase evasion by 50 for 2 seconds, stacking up to 4 times, so an additional 200. If you get the 4-piece, you can decrease the endurance of nearby enemies within 5 meters by 150, up to 6 enemies. And when using a movement skill, you increase your evasion by 600 for 1 second, cooldown 10 seconds, probably affected by buff duration. Not very reliable when it has a cooldown like this. We can look at all the other pieces, the different stats they give. Doesn't really look like anything too special here. Decent armor piece if you're trying to stack that range and magic evasion, and ultimately the set itself is pretty accessible. Again, you can get it all from just the co-op dungeons. But then we have the Moonlight Night Set. This is going to be for your healers, although you can use the 2-piece set just for mana cost efficiency and max mana, but the 4-piece is shield health and shield health received. So this is a 30%, that's pretty big, but what this means is we have a new stat. They've gone and split up the healer stats, so you have just flat healing for your normal healing skills, passive healing for those passives, and shield health for those shield skills. So this is where that stat applies. You would get an extra 30%, and so any skill you use that applies shields gets boosted by that value, rather than like normally would be your healing. So you would use this set if you're focusing on just shielding people. Looking at the stats, doesn't look like anything too special here, but the set is pretty inaccessible. Again, coming only from field bosses and Nebula, with the headpiece only from Nebula. Finally, we look at the Divine Apostle set. This is kind of another healer set with a 2-piece at 30% healing. You can get then a 4-piece with passive skill healing plus 30% too, and the benefit of shield block penetration chance for allies within 5 meters of plus 15%, up to 6 players. Looking at the stats, we can see nothing too out of the ordinary. Again, 11 attributes on all of them, and then a mix between cooldown, attack speed, evasion, endurance. And yeah, the set is pretty accessible. Again, co-op dungeons and some drops in Nebula too. So that's all 7 sets. If you're looking at something to replace your critical damage set like Imperial or Spectral, well, the only real option is this extra critical damage here. It's just very inaccessible, and you're giving up your other 2-piece set. Like if I'm a Fury, I'd be giving up my Sacred set, and that's the damage over time. It's just not going to be worth giving that up. Even on Invocator, it'd be arguably not worth taking this versus the Void or even the Sacred set. So if I had to switch and I'm like Fury, I'd most likely go with the Blood Knight set or the Forgotten Monarch set. It's just unfortunate both of them only come from field bosses in Nebula, and I'm sure the devs know it, and that's exactly why they're a lot less accessible. There is just no real accessible tier 3 sets that are good for like damage dealers. These other ones are survivability or PvP. I'd maybe go 2-piece Demonic and then just stick with 2-piece Spectral or 2-piece Imperial. But at that point I can also just stay with my Sacred. So the armor, kind of looks underwhelming if I'm honest. At least with these set pieces. What we can look now is at some of the gear pieces that don't have a set. So these are 3 head pieces, but this is just resistance stuff. So it's pretty much just filler. You can obtain it, hopefully get a lucky trait, and sell that for some lucent. The stats, nothing special here. Looking at the chest pieces, again, nothing too special. Same for the gloves, the legs. Maybe you can take them for like endurance and some evasion and hit chance, depending on what PvP build you're going with. You got the shoes here then. But finally, we'll look at the cloaks, and there's actually some pretty good ones here. This one's pretty insane, the Frostblade cloak. The issue though, is it only comes from arch bosses, Delos Noah and Queen Belandir. But look at the stats on that one. Heavy attack damage, heavy attack chance, attack speed, and cooldown speed. Definitely want that for PvE damage dealers. One for tanks and survivability is the Blood Shadow Drapes, but also from Archboss. And this is from the other ones, Tevent and Giant Cordy. The actual accessible tier 3 cloaks are going to be from co-op dungeons. This one's going to give heavy damage resistance, heavy attack evasion, with then the more offense oriented one with critical damage, critical hit chance, bonus damage and attack speed. Not the worst at all. That extra critical damage is pretty good, and this is probably be the one I'll be going with. And in terms of traits, it supposedly has 10% skill damage resistance, 25% max mana, 25% mana regen, so not the worst, but nothing special there either. And that's it for the gear. All 54 pieces, basically 10 armor pieces per slot, plus the 4 cloaks. Also be aware, this is probably just the first wave of tier 3 gear. It's very likely we'll get much better sets later on after a few months when the new map expansion comes out. So you can always just wait, just don't invest too heavily into tier 3 right now. The jump up in terms of stats is not actually that big. Prioritize first your weapons, most definitely. Although you probably only need to get one of them because you should have your legendary weapon. And all you would need then is to upgrade the skill core to something that might be a bit better from the tier 1 upgraded versions that are now tier 3. Like Talus Staff, or Dentist Greatsword. And there are a few other new unique options that can potentially be viable after we get them tested. So yeah, that's it for this one. Another special thank you to all my channel members, and we'll see you guys around.